Mr. Matt Omo, welcome to Straight to the Source, brother.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to, really I wanted you to be on this podcast right at the beginning because obviously you were a pivotal part in my journey, a pivotal part in Elise's journey. And, I spent 6 months with you doing your sound, breathwork and sound healing mentorship program, which completely changed my life, put me on a completely new trajectory, which is the ripple effect, right? That you have in the world, just from my experience, and it just felt very important to firstly honor our teachers and mentors and the people who we've been blessed to connect with, and then also to really kind of delve into your journey of how you've gotten to where you are, your experiences growing up and becoming the man that you've become, doing the work that you're doing, what you're doing now, what the future feels like it holds for you. And, just a huge amount of gratitude too. I see now like there's hundreds of people out there doing different things with sound because of what we do. And that's potentiality created from who you've been. So like that ripple effect is profound, and I'm just one person. There was another 5 people in that program and I did, and that's just one program you've done. So just inviting reflection of the impact on the world that your work is having. So I'd love you to share a little bit about yourself now. Just give people an opportunity to hear what you're doing right now, and because you're doing a lot and there's a lot of good stuff out there in the world and that I'm seeing all the time. So throw it over to you, my friend.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for all that. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? The whole ripple effect and how, you get into the flow of things and stuff starts moving and what you give just ultimately then comes back like tenfold. It's amazing. So yeah, just hearing your words, I really appreciate that. I think as you know, doing this type of work, you put it out there, but the response back sometimes is muted. People get what they need and they go on their way, and you don't hear back about how that's actually impacted them. So it's refreshing to have that reflected back. So really appreciate that.
Yeah.
What I'm doing now, geez, when did we do that? Training. The training you were in is probably about 7 years
20,
ago.
2019. It's 2019.
Is it? Okay. Yeah. So almost 7 years. Yeah. Um, Perfect. A lot's changed since then in the world, in my life, in the work that I do. Uh, I've come together through the whole COVID thing, joined together forces with a couple other beautiful souls, Guy Lawrence and Petra Brozovic, and we created what's called Live and Flow is the company we've created, and we're mainly focused on running 5-day retreats, and we got an online program to support that retreat and that transformation that happens, as well as daily 1-day events around the world at this point. So it's yeah, it's really good. I think the world needs it now more than ever, and we're utilizing sound, breath, past life regression, hypnotherapy, timeline therapy, meditation, mindfulness, somatic work. Like, we've just brought all of our forces together and created this container for people to really get to the heart of who they are. So in a nutshell, that's what I'm doing, and I think it's what the world is screaming out for. As you know, the work that you're bringing to the world and the people that you're touching, it's we've lost our hearts, basically. I think it's like getting back to the heart of who we are is critical in this. It was funny. What was I just saying the other day? Oh, I saw this beautiful post about presence, and I think that it's one of the things that's tremendously lacking in the world is a sense of presence, and ultimately the P that we're creating in the world is performance instead of presence. It's a different P world and a
Yeah.
different framing altogether. We're all in show. We're all on performing to be someone, to have an identity, and I think in that we've lost ourselves. So the work that you do, that we do, is to come back to the heart of who we are and to bring a presence to that uniqueness that's wanting to express into the world. And I think as we open into that, we'll start to create a positive momentum in the world, which is what you were just talking to about the ripple effect. So that's me in a nutshell.
I really love that too. Like even the distinction of presence and like that really landed for me
Mm,
because I think we have been conditioned that, when we're putting things out there or up on stage or whatever, that most people are performing,
mm,
right?
mm,
But presence is key, and it really explains why some engagement goes through the roof when you're present and offering presence. And there's way less engagement on social media and all the things that you do when you're performing because there's almost
mm.
like an inauthenticity in the performance of the facade of who you think you need to be in that moment
Yeah.
to create, you know what I mean, that performance.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's manufactured. It's not aligned with an energy that's it's like a life force energy that's wanting to move through us. It actually skews that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's like one of the overarching philosophies I think or concepts that has guided me through a lot of this work and to
Yeah.
developing what I do is that sense of presence and that sense of that curiosity as to who are we really? What are we beyond these five senses? What are we beyond this body, this motion, these thoughts? And it's like that's always just appealed to me, and my mind always goes to that place, and it's like there's something far greater that's beckoning me to be birthed into this world, and I think we all feel that to some extent, and that is the purpose. That is the ultimate purpose, is to bring that soul self into reality instead of being entangled in the identity of the false self. So, and that all
Yeah.
stems from a understanding of who we are through a deep exploration of an inner presence.
I love that. I really feel that's a powerful distinction to just launch this conversation on. And I personally just got quite a bit out of that for myself. So I appreciate that. I think other people will as well. I want to kind of delve into the Omo story. I know I've heard snippets of it, but I'm guaranteed I'm going to relive or experience new elements to it today. And part of what I want to delve into to start with is what was it like growing up in your world? Where did you grow up? What was that like? What was the experience of Mad Omo as a child and in the world that you were living in at that time?
Mm. Yeah, so Middle America is where I grew up, which 80s, late 70s, early 80s, the Middle America. The way that I describe it is I usually share three words and it paints a picture. So the three words are pickup trucks, shotguns, and cornfields, right? So that's kind of the environment that I grew up in. And I think from
Yeah.
that you can extrapolate out just how that would be for me being a sensitive, introverted, um, let's say a bit defiant
Mm.
young boy. So in other words, those worlds just did not mesh. It was more of a colliding of worlds, and um, and I guess like you say, we well the experiences we have obviously mold us into who we are, and it's like that was pivotal in becoming who I am and allowing me to see things a bit differently because I had a lot of time with myself. I had a lot of time feeling like I didn't fit in. A lot of, um, I guess you could call it bullying. Kids would pick on me, make fun of me, and it forged a deep, a strong sense of humor, I guess. I had two options really: get depressed and be deflated in it all, which there were times for that. But my salve or my antidote to that was to be funnier than the ones that were picking on me. So the humor was what was my survival mechanism at that point. And yeah, I mean, obviously, humor masks a sadness, masks a pain often, and that was definitely the case in my world. And it just felt like everything was a curse at that point because I didn't know who I was. There was no uh, mentors or role models in place that would highlight and embrace the sensitivity that I had within me. It was more of a curse than a gift at that point, and you know, just toughen up kind of vibe. You know, you're in the Midwest. Um, you're not meant to feel as a boy. You're not meant to have those that sensitivities and so forth, and so it wasn't nurtured. And I think that sent me on a journey of a good 15 to 25 years worth of strife because in essence what that did within me was to neglect the essence of who I was and to um, embrace and accept the gifts that I was given. So it took me, I did quite a big circle to come around to that through life's struggles and strifes. And yeah, so that's the beginnings. That's where it all stems from is that environment that I grew up in and not having a space to be creative, to express myself, to dive into what spirituality or energy. I was raised Catholic. It was like, be guilty, you sinner, repent. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yes.
you know, it was a double whammy. It was the trifecta of shame and guilt. So um, off we went into the world as such. I guess.
Well, I'm interested. There's a lot of strife in my past. I'm interested to like just inquire as to what kind of strife, what were the outpourings of that experience? How did that manifest in the world?
Yeah, the defiance took center stage, like just being the comedian, being the class clown, and defying, pushing against anything that was infringing on my freedom, I guess, or
Mm,
my perceived freedom, my manufactured freedom. I, I
mm,
I've had a aversion to authority and an aversion to um, responsibility, and because I felt that it was just more pressure and it was infringing upon my ability to be creative, to be myself, which ultimately was left uncovered until later in life. And that's where the strife came in, is that I was pushing to try and be more true to myself, but I didn't even actually take the time or have the mentoring to understand what that self was. And so it was like I had an idea of who I wanted to be that I was trying to forge into the world, push into the world. And so that was then perceived as defiance and uh, you know, a little brat, let's say. And and but it's fascinating though, because you can see where the threads come together, right? Because a lot of that time then spent being the class clown was putting me in front of people and learning how to engage people and relate to people and read people and you know, to get the response that I was wanting. It was not coming from a wholesome, holistic place. It was coming from more of a contrived and a needy place. But it was, in essence, I was learning how to hold on some skewed way a presence in a room and in front of people and to understand where people were. I did a lot of that of observing and because I felt like an outsider and I was, you know, ridiculed for certain ways of being. Um, and so it was lots of sitting in the back of the room observing and then finding the way in to get the laugh or get the response and to get the attention, I guess is what it comes down to, doesn't it? Um,
yeah.
but it's fascinating because that then there were critical components in doing the work that I do. I think that this work can be very heavy and very arduous at times, and a strong sense of humor is required to navigate some of these rough waters that we go through. And so, you
Yeah.
know, that ultimately then becomes a gift and a tool that I can utilize. So, yeah, I don't know if I
Yeah.
answered your question there, but
Not specifically, but I feel like I really resonate with what you were saying, and what was coming up when you were talking was that kind of that rebellious aversion to authority
Hmm.
also kind of promotes that entrepreneurial spirit as well, right? Like you've obviously been working for yourself and with the people that you now connect with at a more soul level.
Hmm.
I feel like, how do you feel like that aversion to authority also almost also stimulated that entrepreneurialism and stepping out and doing things beyond the authority or the jobs, the bosses, the stuff like that?
Yeah, 100%. It's all part of it. I think it's a combination of things. It was that as well as then the true calling of what I do now didn't really exist in the world, and so it's like, well, I had to kind of um, start to create my own path, and that wasn't going to be found in some sort of corporate reality or um, you know structure that's already in place. So it was it was doing a lot of jumping without nets, and then and then landing and dusting off the bruises and moving forward. That's kind of how my journey went, I guess. Um,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. Sometimes you jump expecting the net. Eventually, there's a trampoline, but you got to fall through the springs a few times before you get to the actual mat.
that's it.
But
Yeah. Holy shit.
so, how would you have described yourself as a young adult finding your way in the world?
Um, yeah, confused, closed, uh, frustrated, angry. I guess that
Yeah.
sums it up.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, it was everything. I think I was really pissed off that I was not able to, or didn't have an understanding who I was and how to be who I wanted to be, and like this just angry at life, angry at the world, and then life throws its curveballs
Yeah.
to 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 give you that to justify that stance. I guess you could say.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. I know that obviously the familial aspect of it, the family, um, component of it is critical as well. And obviously, you've got Midwest America and all of the energy of that time, but then there's also what's happening at home and with your parents. How were they with that defiance and that kind of pushing back, almost rejection of the sensitive self, which is the pure strength that we brought in with as children, and rejecting that. How maybe did they contribute to that, or how did they handle that?
They're both pretty phenomenal humans. And I think they always wanted the best for me, and they're always there for me in the best way they could be. My mom was more of a free spirit, so she kind of was my solace, place to go and feel supported, feel heard, feel seen. Um, my dad was more tied into the corporate realm of things, and saw the world through that lens. And I'm not at a fault to that. It was just that lens to look through, and then trying to bring me into focus in that world was not ever going to happen. So I think that brought a lot of
Yeah.
frustration to him. But then he's such a kind, gentle, caring man that I think, um, came to an acceptance and understanding of who I was, even though he really didn't have the ability to conceptualize what that was until I think probably the last 20 years or so. It's really come full circle and back to having reference points for him to understand who I am and what I'm doing based on the things that I do and that stuff that I'm putting into the world. In certain things like writing a book, like things that are tangible and measurable from that lens, I think
Yes.
brings his awareness to it. But all that being said, too, he was quite into personal development, which was fascinating. Um,
Yes.
because he was that was one of the ways that he tried to discipline me, was to um give me cassette series and say, go to your room and give me a report on Wayne Dyer or Deepak Chopra or Marianne Williamson, Carolyn Mace, like all the greats. He's getting these shipped to him in cassette form. And
Yeah.
his solution to me being so defiant and mucking around in school was, well, let's start getting to work here. Like, you obviously need a little personal development. So, um, you know,
Wow.
this there's a great insight from him and a game changer. And that then I'm, in my bedroom at 11, 12, 13 years old, and um, working through these meditations of, feeling into my body and allowing my body to relax, and learning to manage anxiety, learning to manage depression, learning to focus my mind and find stillness and find peace and find, it's just, the list goes on, like with all those resources
Yeah.
that were spoon fed to me at that time. So that, in essence, was kind of the seeds that were planted at a time in my life where I I wasn't seeking it, but was given it. So, uh, yeah, and I lean quite heavily on a lot of that stuff today, because I've come to an understanding how great of a gift that was, to have those tools accessible, and that ability to explore to that level in that age of my life. So, yeah, those were my
I love
parents.
that. I think that what I mean, I've still the only time I've ever heard a story like that from anybody, like your punishment is to go and make yourself a better person. Like, I wish I had that punishment now. At the time, I probably wouldn't have wished it, but,
That's right.
but
Yeah, no, that was good.
fascinating. So was he using that from like for himself from a more corporate perspective and like success driven, aspect or and then just, saying, obviously thinking, well, you're not gonna want to do this. So
Yeah.
go to your room and do this personal development, Matt.
No, that was it. Me and my brother would always just whinge and moan about it. I think I think one of the bridges, thinking back on it, there was a series that came through, because it was like the Earl Nightingale Foundation or something. It was bringing in all these different speakers, and one of the, I don't know if it was Brian Tracy or um Jim Rohn. I can't remember who it was. It was one of these, those guys. It was like, these motivational speakers that did a whole series for kids, and I can remember it like vividly, that because it was done in a way that there is like 6 or 7 characters that were developed through these audio series that then illustrated different things, like making excuses and being negative, and like it was so cool. But we've not been able to find that. I've asked my dad repeatedly, because I'd love to give it to my kids, and yeah, it's
Yes.
just it's gone missing over the years. But
Oh,
um,
wow.
no, it was a powerful thing, and that was the bridge. That was the bridge in that we started to lean into it a bit. But my dad's stuff, because there's a lot of middle-aged men like my age now, speaking in monotone voices. For a child, it's like pain. It's like torture. So, yeah, my dad saw an opportunity to put the screws in and give me some benefit at the same time. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, that was the gist of it. So,
Wow. Oh, I know this. Yeah, it's so interesting. There's the reflection that we have with the people that we work with, right? And there's a lot of reflection in your story for myself, which I always find fascinating. And I know that we have a similar journey with our mothers
mm,
and how that story played out, and like a huge pivot point um, in your life and my life, and people who have the similar situation arise. I just wanted to, ask from a place of empathy and love, like to talk to that if you're open to it.
for sure. Yeah. No, it's been a pivotal thing. I mean, that was kind of the the return back to the personal development was being I was 22 years old at the time, and my mom died suddenly. And so it was a wake up call in many respects, because I was at that age quite a defiant brat at university, neglecting the studies, more partying, more um, just thinking I knew it all. And all the tools and stuff that my dad had shared with me were nowhere to be found.
Mm.
Nor did I
Yeah.
care to explore them. But and in a way, I think it was on a downward spiral because I was quite depressed looking back, and it was and alcohol being a depressant was one of the main social ingredients. So it was just, putting gasoline on the fire, so to speak, at that point.
Yeah.
And so, and I obviously wished it could have been different, but there's so many benefits that have emerged out of the fact that I lost my mom at that age. In that it was a wake up, it was a getting moving in my life, an ignition to get motivated to graduate, to start my career, to make something of myself. I think at that point in my life, I was like, two things kind of come to mind of what happened. It was first, it was the shunning and the denying of the little boy and like time to grow up in
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
in what I felt was I guess it was a strategy to cope with the pain and the grief, but you know that's another circle that had to come into I had to traverse, was to
Yes.
realize that that child needed to be reparented and to be held within my own psyche in a safe way, and not just shunned and pushed away. So but that was the first thing that I did, and the second thing that I did was I had this almost this self-righteous stance that I had to live fully to continue the legacy of my mom's life that was cut short. So it's like those two things are like overarching themes that I can remember looking back, and um, and they served me for some time. Got me moving, got me motivated. I started then to lean back into meditation to try and more of a tool to drive, to manifest, to set goals kind of thing, less of a tool at that point to work through the pain and the grief and to feel the emotion, which was far away from my conscious mind at that point. It was
Yes.
yeah, so that really was the catalyst. And she's I know now that she's been there. She kind of was a bridge to allow me access behind the veil, and she came to me in a vision of taking me to a place beyond my five senses that allowed me to see energy and hear sounds and shapes and colors and experience life far more than what I was adhering to and identifying with. And took me 15 years to understand what she was showing me, and then another 10 years to learn how to bring that information into the world. Um,
Yes.
but that, in essence, was the catalyst, and she opened the doorway and has been there along the way to guide me into that spiritual world and the spiritual work that I do now, with sound, with breath, with all the things that I utilize. And so, um, yeah, I mean that was the journey. That was where I went. It was and fascinating too is that because we Middle America, that was like the it was almost like an explosion of then sending myself and my brother to the far reaches of the country. So um, being in Middle America, I think a lot of Americans only realize that there's one country in the world, which is the States. So as far as I could go was the was California, and as far on the west, and as far as my brother could go was Washington D.C. on the east. And so we did that. We went boom, and looking back, it was like I was running from the pain. I was running from the hurt, running
Yeah.
from the grief, because there was so many memories at
Yeah.
home. Of her life and her death and everything. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, but that then opened doors for both of us. We were then exposed to more progressive environment, more opportunities, especially in LA. I was had access to, funnily enough, performance. you know,
Yes. Yeah.
um, I was seeking that attention that I got in the classroom in the world through starting a band and wanting to be an actor, and as these things unfold, you can't deny that there's some guiding force that is leading the way far more than your conscious mind can adhere to, you know? And
Yes.
the acting was one of those things. Is that I I went into my main acting teacher that I had for 6 years. I had been, through a line of synchronistic things, been led to his class, and I sat and audited one of his classes. Daryl Hickman was his name. And he was a child actor. He'd been in the industry for ages. So I was like, "Oh, cool! This is
Yes.
the right place to be from a Hollywood perspective, right?" But I end up in his classroom, and he's very very vocal, a great storyteller, and he was going on, and he got to a point in one of his stories. He said, "If there's one thing I teach in this room, is a practical guide to this book." And he went to his desk and he picked up this book, and it was The Seven Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. And I had that
Oh,
book in,
wow.
I had it in my bag. So it was like,
Wow.
as I knew in that moment I was in the right place. And
Wow.
the first thing that he taught me, or the first tool that he offered, was to write your career. Write about things you know. Create um, a monologue about something that's dear to you. And that was a moment that I started to then heal the grief of my mom, because I started to write about her death.
Wow.
And I did a monologue in that class on her death and losing her and what I felt. And it was just waterfalls, like the freaking floodgates opened. And having him as I look at him as like my creative slash spiritual father, in that um he became that mentor that I didn't have growing up, who had the
Yes.
tools of creativity infused with spirituality. Because in essence, I feel like creativity and spirituality, they're one and the same, when done
Yes.
from a true authentic place. We're not
Yes.
talking about
Yeah.
the woo woo Hollywood production performance kind of stuff, right? Um,
No, no.
so yeah, that's where he was. And so he became that teacher, and he was showing me how to move my body with emotion, how to express emotion through sound, how to feel energy of other actors, how to feel emotion of other actors. And like, I was naive, and I thought, oh, I'm studying to be an actor. But what I was really studying to be was a healer. And
Yes.
so those tools and those techniques are well infused in a lot of my courses and a lot of the work that I do now, in helping people feel again, helping people um, embody the hurt, the trauma that they're holding back, to helping people express, to helping people find their voice, to um, become unstuck in their lives, to find purpose. Like, all that stuff stems from those simple exercises in that acting class. And
Wow.
yeah, and then that ability then to be surrounded by all these creatives, and to be dabbling with sound and music. And I started going into Agape, which is a spiritual center in Los Angeles. Reverend Michael Beckwith was the founder of that, teaching science of mind. And so I was going to there weekly, and basically what that was I'd just go sit in this place, the spiritual center that was accepting of all religions. And one of his main things that I still hear echo in my mind is that he would talk about the teachings of Jesus, and he would say, they translated the Bible wrong, in that it's, a lot of religions look at us coming in, and we're sinners. And he says, you're not the sinner, you're the center of creation. And so it was like
Yes.
that little spin on the words, that little twist, is basically the concept of then reclaiming your power, reclaiming your divinity. And so my how that looked for me is, I would go there on Sunday for 2 hours, and I would sit in the chair with all these beautiful people singing and dancing and doing their thing, and um, just talking about spirit, and I would just cry.
Wow.
And I just sat there and, like, just for 2 hours, just cry, just tears streaming down my face. So I'm crying in this spiritual center. I'm crying in my freaking acting class. And, it's just, there was just a cleanse, a washing, a release, an opening. And that's really, all that stems from my mom dying. and that, and how,
Yeah.
who knows how she and whatever other forces are there were guiding me to that reality. But that's how I found it, and that's how then the acting, like the energy work and the then massage work and so forth and so on. I mean, it's windy and beautiful, but yeah, there's no direct through line of saying, oh yeah, I finished high school, then I went to spiritual school, and then I graduated with a master's in that, and now I'm a healer. It was like, no, it was a windy road of trial and error and many tools, an amalgamation of many tools to um, birth the unique version of how I express and work with energy and sound and spirit. And then
Yes.
and I think ultimately that was the beauty, because it all those different things coming together um, then created a flavor. And I think this is what I was teaching you guys, and in that, I can show you what I did and teach you what I do, but it's not what you're gonna do. And watching
Yeah.
you and Elise, it's like it's just beautiful how you've just taken all that on board and just running with it. And now there's a whole new version of the work that I do through you guys, because you really took to heart that you have the capacity within you to create something unique that's then going to create a whole nother ripple effect in a different way that I
Yes.
would never be able to do. And I was like, that just blows my mind, and it's just exciting. And I think it's one of the like it's really speaking to me now as I witness the world and how we get all caught up in these identities and in trying to um, the labels, the identities, the um, borders, I mean, there's so many different things that we're just trying to hook our identity upon. And then
Yes.
and then it's like, and then we get bent out of shape because this identity is not as equal as this identity, and we
Yeah.
deserve to be equal to this. And it's like, this if we could just let it go and find our uniqueness, and then bring something far greater than what you could ever identify with what's here into the world,
Yes.
then we're gonna be on our way towards what we actually came here to do. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know. Yeah.
I, I love that. I actually really love that, and I think there's a lot of like wisdom in those words,
Mm.
because that's the creator creating, right? It's
That's
like,
it. That's it. Yeah.
it's like if we're just spruiking what we've been taught without firstly embodying it, like checking the lived experiences from it, then once you get to a certain level in that realm of doing the work, it's almost impossible not to have spontaneous divine eruptions of information or guidance or channels or whatever it is to extrapolate in your own unique way, which morphs it into something new, which is here's a now new vibration of this concept that's now going to connect with a whole new bandwidth of people
That's right.
at our level, at your level, at Ruth's level, at these people's level.
That's it.
And I think it's fucking exciting, bro.
Isn't it?
Like, right? It's like that's where the magic happens. Don't just do course after course after course. Find the course that creates the foundation of magic and go and create the magic. Be the information
Mm.
and have people come and then inspire them to then go and extrapolate there and that in their own beautiful way. That's yeah, I fucking am 100% on board with that.
No, and I love it.
That
You
is
said spontaneous divine eruptions, SDEs, mate. Let's coin that phrase. I love it. That was a great phrase. I think if I can
I love
put it on my next meditation, the
it.
meditation for spontaneous divine eruption. So that's fantastic, mate. No, but you're 100% right, and it's never actually the modality or the tools or that people are resonating with. It's the energy of self, of our authentic self, moving through that people resonate with. Um
Yes.
and I think that's like I never have been able to really express it, but it's like that's it, trying to express what inspiration is, right? Because like you see certain things or you have certain experiences, and it's like you're inspired, and you want to take it and do something with that or create something with that. And it's like the way that I see that is that we're all kind of like these guy, my business partner talks about this. He says we're like nerve endings of the divine. And so it's like, you come
Yes.
to the divine nervous system, and then we're all these little nerve endings. And it's like we have this ability then to bring that divine charge through. And then there's, people over here that have disconnected that divine, right? And so
Yeah. Yeah.
it becomes a conduit then of resonance, sympathetic resonance of that charge
Yes.
that's coming through us as we're connected to then initiate the resonance through that person that then opens their connection up, and they find their way back to their source. And so it's like, to me,
Yeah.
that is kind of the mechanics of inspiration is like, and
Yeah.
what people miss is that we're all kind of like this. We're going around like this, trying to be the identity, be the tool, be the healer, be the teacher, whatever it is, but we haven't connected in the divine to allow that charge to inspire. So, yeah, I think
Yeah.
what we're talking about is just that. What you're speaking to is just that. Like you say, straight to the source, mate.
Yeah. Boom, underline. Yeehaw.
That's it.
I love all of that. I love that I have not heard the word agape for decades, because agape, I think, is another word for love, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's I can't remember. I was my dad used to talk about it, very hyper religious conservative, and agape was a different form of love. I can't remember exactly what it was. I don't know if you remember what
Yeah, yeah,
that
it's
means.
it's the Greek. So Greeks had like 4 or 5 different words for love. They had like philos, eros, agape. There was a couple others, but agape is the divine love. So that connection, that love of the divine, of source, of consciousness, of however you frame it. So yeah, that was the spiritual center's name.
Thanks for bringing that back into my world. That's a that is a word worth
Yeah,
remembering.
100%. Yeah.
So, 3D question: What did you study at university? What was happening over in those early days?
Computer engineering. I started computer electrical engineering, a double major, because I was apparently smart and good with maths and science, and I didn't know what the hell I was
Yes.
going to do with my life. So
Yeah.
that's where everyone guided me, because their philosophy was get an engineering degree and you can go anywhere with that. That's a good
Yeah.
foundation.
Right.
Ah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's now a piece of paper in a folder somewhere that I don't use. So that's where I started, and I did computer coding for 5 years in LA while I was exploring all the different arts and
Yes.
healing modalities, and having
Yeah.
an awakening, so to speak, um, in Los Angeles. And yeah, so that was a foundation. I had glimpses of wanting to be a doctor, so I went to UCLA and took a few courses like biology and anatomy and things that I didn't get with my engineering degree to try and buffer up my credentials so that I could be applied to medical school. And in
Yes.
in that process, I volunteered at one of their hospitals. And you want to talk about disillusion, like holy hell. I went into those
Right.
all bright-eyed, excited that I was gonna help people and save people. And I probably, my mom was a nurse, so I think probably somewhere in there
Yes.
was a wanting to carry on that baton as well. Um,
Yes.
but the way the hospitals were structured, and the lack of actual healing that's going on in those places, and more of
Yes.
a, a, a gateway to your grave, so to speak. What a lot of those places are. Um, so yeah, it
Yes.
just woke me up, and then the egos that the doctors had, and um, it was just not right. It was not for me. Um,
Mm.
and not to knock it. There's a lot of a lot of huge benefit to allopathic medicine and how it allows us to
Yes.
be in our modern world, which is necessary. But for me and what was calling my heart forward, that was not it. And and so that was a wake up. But in that exploration, then I started to take massage courses. And so massage was kind of on the line. It was like it was new agey, but it was also mainstream. Like people could get their heads
Yes.
around. I've got tension. I need a massage. Um,
Yeah.
but what I discovered was in the massage, I was starting to feel people's emotions, and then they were asking me to guide them in ways that I didn't know how. And so that's then what led me into more of the energy work, as well as then I did go get a master's in some sort of spiritual thing. It was spiritual psychology. It was a university
Yeah.
in Santa Monica of all places. Of I don't think it exists anymore, but it was basically teaching psychology with the twist that we're spirit number one in a physical experience. And so they would take all the different psychological modalities and theories and then add that layer to it and say, okay, if you are a soul using this modality, how would that look? And so that gave me a whole another wealth of tools that I could then bring into my work. And that was basically the foundation. I was off and running once I had that. The master's program, the teachings at Agape, and the practical guide to the seven spiritual laws of success from my acting teacher.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow, what a really like fascinating kind of melting pot, alchemizing process
yeah,
to come to that. And I think even talking about your experience in the hospital, what I'm hearing is like there's a part of you that wants to express as a healer, and it's like I want to be a healer. I'm like, nah, it's not here. Not enough healing happening here for what I'm being called to. Masters in spiritual psychology or whatever you mentioned is like that's then bridging that desire forward, which again, it really sounds like a gift from your mum as well. Like
mm,
obviously she had her own healing qualities and capacities that she was probably working with energy and helping people in ways that maybe she didn't even fully comprehend. And do you feel that that was also a part of her gift to you and what you've carried forward in the work that you do?
absolutely, yeah, yeah, for sure. It just I think it's that idea like we tend to think of healing as like because we're so connected to the physical in our bodies, like we're if something's not working, we say, "Oh, well, I need to fix what's broken in the body." And then we come and
Yeah.
then the one of the issues I think that allopathic medicine is now coming into acceptance of is that the compartmentalizing of the body. Then you've got your heart specialist, you've got your brain surgeons, you've got they're all individual, but realizing more of like the Chinese medicine or the Ayurvedic medicine, like that kind of more of the ancient medicines is the more holistic approach, and bringing all that together is critical. And so in that then and this is a lot of what we teach is that you know coming into an understanding and awareness of your whole self is critical. And so if there's a physical problem, well, what's the emotion that's under that? What's the beliefs that have been put into play? What are the habits and practices that are causing that to rear its head? And then also ultimately then energetically, where is the restriction in energy that is then feeding the thoughts and the feelings and the body and the nervous system and everything? It's like so many layers that coincide to healing. And that if you take that larger vantage point of I am all these things, that
Yes.
we find often that healing many times is not the repair of the body, it's the acceptance of the journey that the ailment is revealing to you, and that the soul has a higher purpose that it's wanting to experience through these different ailments and challenges that we find ourselves having. And so, and the funny thing is that once you come to that concept, oftentimes then the physical ailment relieves itself. And it's like,
Yeah.
um, but at the same time, it's like maybe the journey is to have that experience to move on to the next dimension. So it's not always coming to a through line where, okay, we're going to live forever. It's coming through to an acceptance of the journey to that next stage, and going beyond.
Yeah.
I think, it's like you could say, oh, my experience is birth to death. But as you know, as you lean into this work, there's a part of us that's beyond that timeline. And so then it's
Yes.
like in that vantage point, then you're like, oh, this is just a moment, the birth, and then the death is just a moment, and then there's
Yes.
octaves of stuff beyond that. So where is that
Yeah.
taking me, and what am I learning in this moment, and how does here we go back to the beginning? How does that presence with what is then allow me an opportunity for growth into an evolution of who I am truly meant to be?
Yeah. Yeah, I really love that explanation. I think it was really beautiful and succinct. And even kind of like what you alluded to at the end there, like sometimes, you know, people have upwellings in the physical realm.
Mm,
It's communication. It's kind of the last kind of, hey, we're trying to tell you something here. There's stuff going on. And sometimes part of the journey to love and acceptance is that is the end point.
mm,
That is the death point.
mm,
Sometimes healing is in the physical realm is possible by doing the deeper work and addressing all of that communication and what's below it and beneath it. And then sometimes the trust and the surrender point and the love and acceptance point is that it's your time, it's your soul choice, it's your soul contract, whatever you want to call it, it's your karma.
mm,
There's lots of different ways to describe the same thing, but I think that's sometimes hard to grapple with in the human realm when we don't have those larger beliefs and that spiritual connection to the greater picture, which adds the definition to allow that surrendering even into what may seem terrible in the human realm, but be a beautiful experience from a soul perspective, and why we're even here in the first place.
100%. Yeah, yeah. Well said.
Oh, so major turning points, major turning points. What, like, there's a lot of turning points I'm hearing here, but like, obviously, moving away from, computer science, computer engineering, all this kind of stuff, which
Mm.
I'm sure is really bloody helpful. I'm a bit jealous sometimes when it comes to,
No, don't
setting
kid,
up.
don't kid yourself, mate. Like everything I learned fucking 30 years ago is obsolete.
It's irrelevant.
That's
It's obsolete.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I'll let that go.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah. Yeah. No.
but then there's all the shifts, right? There's all the like, hey, doing that and working here in coding, like
Mm.
just
Mm.
poke my head into the medical world,
Mm.
go and do this master's. Like, at what point does like Matt Omo go, hey, I might put some events on and bang some instruments and do some breath work? Like, what was the point, the transition or the major turning points to get you there?
Yeah, look, I hate to admit it, but I would have to accredit my ex-wife to motivating that aspect in me, because even through all that, I was working for a company doing the computer programming, and then I was working for a company doing massage work, and working at a day spa, and then I moved into management in that spa. So it was like I was in these entities, doing working for someone, getting a paycheck. So I was still clinging to that same lens that my dad was looking through. And so it wasn't until I met my ex online, and funnily enough, and decided to move to Australia to explore that relationship, that I find myself here without any rights to work to begin with, on a travel visa, and so then I had to start get creative, and she had her own business, and she was doing massage work, and had a space that she was renting out. And so she really allowed me then to get my head around how it looks to be a sole trader, to start my own business, to get out from underneath somebody else. And so then the whole of I lived in a we lived in a community that we needed to take a boat to get to the house, and there was about 500 houses in these little bays just outside of Sydney, and so we had a boat, and we decided that we were going to create a mobile boat massage service, and that's where it started me. And so then
Wow.
then I just kind of sunk my teeth in this ability to kind of make my own hours and to have my freedom and to start to build a business. And then from there, we moved into creating a health center, which is where I think you came to the pictures when I was working out of the health center there. And
Yeah.
and through our divorce, the center was bashed through that separation, as well as then it got knocked out completely with COVID. So those two things really then dissolved that whole business, but allowed me to get my feet into my hands into how it is to create a business. And then I took that as far as I could as a sole trader. And one of the things that I learned as managing, I managed. I first started in as a massage manager at this day spa, which we had about 120 massage therapists and 26 massage rooms in this day spa in Los Angeles. It was the biggest of its kind. And so one of the main reasons I stepped into that role is because I was doing one-on-one massage, and I could get about 30 hours of massage work in a week. And that would pummel me. I was smashed. And 'cause
Wow.
that's a lot, 30 hours of massage work um every week. And so there was a ceiling. There was no way that I could do more, and I was only then impacting that amount of people. 30 a week, it just adds up slowly. But then when I stepped into that role, I could oversee and support 120 people, each with the capacity to do 30 each. And so like
Yes.
100x my reach just from that role.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is cool. This is how you take it further. And so that was kind of echoing to me as I was developing my business here and being a sole trader. And then I could only reach so many. It was like, first the workshops were a way to get out of the one-on-one, and so then I could get a room where I had 12 people maximum, and that's where we're kind of holding hands and like rubbing shoulders and like packed in.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then it was the center could hold 35 or 40, and then it just went from there and grew. And then it was okay, now I have this ability to work with two other beautiful healers and teachers and entrepreneurs that have different tools and skills that we've brought together, so that we're now created a team of people that are supporting the ability to organize retreats and events and um, get us out there even further, online stuff. And it's like, and so it's just that ripple effect, and that's where it's really kind of exploded, is to have that ability to dive into that. And so, like I say, that all stems from being around my wife at the time, and her business, and modeling, and being pushed and nudged to do that, instead of to adhere to, let me just go get another desk job somewhere. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's
Yeah.
how it all started, and it snowballed from there.
So sound obviously, you know, is a huge part of what you do. It's obviously expanded well beyond that now with what you're doing and the events that you're running and the space that you're holding and the multi-modalities that are getting woven in by not just yourself, but Guy and your other business partner. What's, sorry,
Petra,
her name
Petra.
again?
Yeah.
Petra. So, but I think obviously when I met you, sound was a big thing, and breath
Still
work.
is still a big thing
Did
there.
I love it?
Yeah.
I love it. And what is that a pasty?
Yeah,
Is it a
that's my that's the gateway. That's the portal. The 32-inch pasty
name?
gong symphonic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
symphonic. All right. I've got the Chiron, which is I love
Oh,
it.
do
It's a
you? Oh, nice.
D minor.
Oh,
Everything I choose is D minor. I've still got sadness to release, mate. I'm not quite to the degree of, release as what you've been. I didn't have a guppy in my life. I'm quite disappointed, but,
yeah.
um, but like, say somebody's listening here who's just starting out with their sound journey. You know, where did it start? Like, what was it like starting, your breath work or whatever your expression was in that business? You know, what kind of spaces were you doing it in? How many people were turning up? Like, what were the events like?
Yeah, it was step by step, inch by inch. Um,
Mm.
Breathwork came from a beautiful teacher who's still teaching it in Los Angeles, David Elliott. And he was working exclusively with breath. That was his modality. And he's clairaudient as well. So he would hear spirit, and then he would,
Yeah,
through the breath process, would bring affirmations and different phrases that would help you gain insight as to where the resistance was, basically. So,
yes,
um, yeah, incredible. And that was, that's one component. And then, um, I did Kundalini yoga teacher training, which introduced me to these guys, girls, the gongs. And yeah, opened the door to that, and mantra and chanting and sound and different movements, to move energy, uh, and so forth. So, it was that. But then I guess, coming in and having that room that my partner at the time worked in to do her massage work, and we ultimately were able to. There was a room. It was a space with four treatment rooms, and within the first year that I was here in Australia, the woman who she was renting from decided to let it go, and so in that moment we took it over and we had the four treatment rooms, and then we knocked out one of the walls and made it more of a large space. So we had two treatment rooms in a larger space that, like I said, initially could only hold 12 people, and that was tight. And so, yeah, I was doing one-on-one. I was exploring things. It's just there's so many synchronicities that happen. Like, all out of the blue, I got a call from one of those Groupon things. I don't know if you remember those back in the day. It's like they do these special
yeah,
promotions, and they give you, you could get what they said, let's do a sound massage. And I'm like, well, it's not really a sound massage that I do, but okay. And yeah, so that was as I was training in Kundalini yoga and just trying to get my head around what I actually do and how sound actually moves through me. And they sold like 600 of these damn things. And it was enough. It was
wow,
enough, even though I got like something like $6 or something. They were selling it for like $30, and I only got like six of those dollars out of that. Um, Something along those lines. I can't remember the actual numbers, but that was enough to then budget to buy this gong. So that is the exact gong
yeah,
that I bought from my Groupon
wow,
experience, and that led me then to have the opportunity, because probably about 100 or 150 of those 500 they sold actually came to the door, and
yeah.
and it's like trial by fire. I said, well, you're here to have a sound massage. I don't know what the hell that is, but get on the table. And
Wow,
that's where it started. And then I did those, and like those sessions, then people wanted more, and I'm like, oh, well, let's get a group together and we'll do a group session. And
yeah,
sometimes I'd offer a group session. I started on the full moon. I thought that was a nice way to start. Like, it happened every month, so it kept me accountable. I'm like, there's no way out of
yes,
this. I'm
yeah,
gonna have a full moon whether I like it or not, so I better get my butt in
yes,
gear. Um, and some of those full moons, it was like there's one person shows up for the course. It's like,
yeah,
okay, we're
yeah,
having a private session. Here we go. Um,
yeah,
but just repetition, repetition, practice, showing up, um, not getting attached to if there's one person or five people or the whole room's full with 12 people. Wow, what a big space. And you know,
yeah,
it was just that. It was just, I'm just doing this because I feel this is right. This is where I need to go. There was a something calling me. something,
Yes.
more than words, more than my mind that was driving me to do that. And
Yeah.
and so I did, and I just kept showing up. There's that the quote of some regard that says, what separates a professional from an amateur, and the difference is that the professional shows up regardless. Like, no matter rain, hail, sunshine, whatever it is, they're sick, they're on the edge, like, whatever's going on, they're gonna show up. That's the
Yeah.
difference. And so that rang in my head. I was like, well, there's one person, there's two people, nobody shows up. Then it's a practice session for me. I get to explore sound,
Yeah.
and away I went. So no judgment, no attachment, just go with the flow, see what happens, and it just started growing. And one person told another
Yes.
person, and synchronistic things happened, and I end up, a woman has a women's group that meets once a month, and she says, "Come do it at our group." And there's 20 women there, or come to our yoga studio and do it here. Or do you go to this city? Yeah, I'll come down, and all my friends, and it's
Yeah.
like, and it just snowballs. And before I knew it, I was, like I said, upgrading to a new center that could hold 40 people in the room. The full moons became full moon once a month, new moon once a month. So there's 80 people a month that I can work with just in my own space,
Yeah.
and onward. Um, so that was a journey. That's how it evolved.
Yeah. I I love that, and I think one thing that's come through this year really strongly that people, firstly, the two things have come through this year, and I think you're talking to both of them,
Hmm.
and that is the only thing that blocks mastery, the only thing that will stop you from mastery is giving up.
Yep.
The only thing that blocks mastery is giving up. The other thing is to do what other people cannot do, you must be willing to do what other people will not do. And that is not giving up
Yeah.
and doing the work and showing up and being there in that practice session where you've done all of the stuff and got all the venue and unpacked all your gear and sit there and turn that still into something and take something from it. And like, I think that's a beautiful reflection on the difference between why you're doing this and still growing this and being this, and why other people who probably started at the same time are not.
Yeah. 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 It's fascinating to witness because, um, they most people can see these, and they say, "Oh, that's a crystal ball." Um, 20 years ago when I started, people would be like, "What the hell is that thing?" You know? And
Yeah,
and it's fascinating then to go on that ride with people, because then, like, you'll see it too. I was having, Facebook was just emerging at that time. My main source of getting
yeah,
people in was to go to Vistaprint and print some cards, like just little postcards, and put them in coffee shops. And
yeah,
then that
yeah,
got people to
yeah.
my
Old
workshops.
school.
And then, um, and it was funny because, and then eventually you get Facebook events, or Eventbrite, or whatever started to come into play. And um and then my content that I would put on the event and how I described it, like, I would literally over time see people that they actually cut and pasted my words into their event. It's like, what are you doing? And and so it was like that was a journey for me to see that everybody was trying to do what I was doing, or to do something that they thought was cool, but not from that authentic place, like we were talking about earlier, not from a presence in themselves that was unique to them. It was just a replication of what they thought they should do to be that healer that they think they should be, but not grounded in any sense of reality or experience. And I was talking to a mate the other day, and he was saying, like, it's so easy now to be like, social media, not easy. I mean, you got to be on it to be a social media influencer, and you got to hit that niche in some way. That's a whole nother realm that I am not in the generation to accomplish, I don't think. But anyway, there's people out there that are saying they're a healer just by putting an Instagram account up and saying they're a healer.
Yeah,
And then they get a following, and then the following is like, do you do retreats? Yes, sure. And a friend of mine was saying that they met this woman who was calling herself a shaman, which there's all kinds of wrong associated with that. We won't get into that. But anyway, she was a shaman, and that she could run these plant medicine retreats. And she was trying to source plant medicine, but she never actually used it herself. And yet she's going to lead a group of 20 people into this deep space using these sacred
Wow.
plants, that she has no idea what they do. And
Wow.
I was like, wow, that's what it's come to, is it? So yeah, I mean, I kind of hit a couple angles on that, but the thing is that people are just trying to replicate it, and then they fall on their face over time. It's like you see these waves come in, like, last year there was a whole wave of new sound healers that came in, and like it's on Facebook the other day, and like, where did all those guys go and girls? That
Yeah.
I don't see their events
Yeah.
anymore. Anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, you just show up, you do it. I heard there's a beautiful reel going around of Ed Sheeran talking about it, and how he says, everyone's like talking about their successes and their wins and their accomplishments, and he says you don't learn anything from success. You learn from your failures, and it's
Mm.
about having those failures and then learning and getting up and doing it again, and you fail over and over and over again. And I don't know if you heard, there's also that my kids get into it. They're big Ed Sheeran fans, and they there's a recording of him before he started. Have you seen that one? And he
Yes.
like just he's
Yeah.
out of pitch, he's out of tone, he's just off rhythm. Like, he's a horrible singer. And
Yeah.
he said, "Yeah,
Yes.
I was awful, but I just kept going. I just kept practicing." And look at him now. So
Yeah.
yeah, and it's true for any profession. It's true for any industry, and I think it's especially important in what we do. In this
Mm.
industry, which is something that gets under my skin, is that there's this bastardization that's going on of these sacred arts that they're now being utilized as a means to more consumerism, and
Yes.
it's like, well,
Yep.
that's not what they're for. That's not what it's about. Um, if you want to consume something, consume, or have a hunger, have a thirst for consuming your inner world, and understanding
Yeah.
that, digesting that, um, and then that's what these practices are about. What's what these tools are for, is to really deepen your awareness of who you are, of what your authentic self is wanting to express, and then how to fully express that in the only way that you can and nobody else will ever do. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And when we start to touch that vein of gold, that's when miracles happen. That's when magic comes to visit.
Yeah. I 100% agree, and I agree on what you're saying about the industry, and like really, I see it like a splitting of offerings. We're seeing a splitting of timelines anyway. We've been
Mm,
seeing that since
mm.
you've got love, you've got fear. Like there's really just two camps: there's love and fear. Then going back to what you were saying, we've got two camps in this industry now, and one's performance and one's
Yeah.
presence. It's like it's congruence, um, and love, define expression, or there's marketing, psychology, money making. Like somebody showed me this, I think it was an ad or a short at a breathwork session where like they were tackling some guy who was having like some kind of extreme emotional release, and I'm like, that is theater. I have never seen that ever in any of your sessions that I sat in and have been to, any of the sessions that we've run. Like that is spiritual theater, and we do not need that. That
You
stuff
must not have
splits people.
seen the spiritual exorcism of 2020 then. Um, no, you're right. You're right, mate. You're right. It's just this theater. It's performance,
It's
and
there.
that's the pitfall of all these social media freaking things. I
Yeah,
don't know what to call them. It's
yeah.
just, man, it's,
Distorters.
yeah, distorters. It's
Yeah.
which happy days for AI coming into the game, because it's all gonna be manufactured.
Well, I think the option and the opportunity in that realm is to bring that truth and congruence, because
Yeah,
at the
that's
end
it.
of the day, like authenticity always feels just like that. Anything outside of that doesn't land. It doesn't produce the results. It doesn't create the embodied experience. You know what I
No,
mean? So
100%.
that is it's a kind of house of cards, right? It's like yeah, it's not that's not where that's a path that's not going to lead you to your inner source and truth
No,
reflection
no, it might it
southern
might it
divine,
might
right?
spark some ideas, but it's the Coca-Cola of consciousness, really. That shit.
Coca-Cola of
So
consciousness, yes.
yeah, just let it be, let it fizz out. But it
Yep.
also will polarize things, because then, like you're
Mm,
saying, the love and the fear, you're gonna have artificial intelligence and authentic intelligence, and
yeah.
people are just craving it, and an
Mm,
authenticity of within relationships, within like a heart connection with other people,
yes.
because so
Yeah.
many people are connecting to the masks of who they are, and
Mm,
that's the beauty of bringing groups together, as you would witness as
yeah.
well. It's like leave the mask at the door, leave your phone there and your mask, and then come and let's hang
Yeah.
out. And you
Yeah.
can't help but transform in that environment. Yeah.
Correct. Correct. I love everything that you've been talking about. It really hits home, and I feel like, also I wanted to kind of um, thank you as well, because the experience I had doing your 6-month program was an embodiment.
Mm,
It was an embodiment of the work. The thing that I took from your program was how much transformation I had in 6 months by doing breath work every week, sometimes twice a week, plus then, on the face-to-face training days and all of the meditation every day, and the sound and the voice activation and all of the things is so absolutely paramount. Like, you don't go and study breathwork for a weekend and then you're a master breathwork
mm.
facilitator. Unless, from my
What do you mean? I
opinion,
saw I saw on
like
Google you could do that. Like,
you could do that. Great. Can we? Is it
yeah,
cheaper?
yeah. No, it's more
I'll
expensive.
do
Like, you have to pay extra for
that.
that.
It's probably is
If
to
you
pay
invest more than
extra for
10
that.
grand, you're automatically a master.
You-
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
embodied.
yeah.
It's just embodied into you.
No, I hear
Download
you,
it.
mate. No, yeah. Sorry to interrupt. But
No, no, no. I just wanted to honor that. I think that you brought that in the training that you did, and I feel like that is always where the truth of deep learning and deep transformation and deep healing happens, is in the embodiment of the practices. And I'm constantly saying to people that we're training is like, if you're not willing to do the work, how are you going to sit up the front of that room in authenticity and expect other people to really
mm,
do the work?
mm,
It has to be embodied for the deepest possibility from the work that we bring.
mm,
So I just wanted to share that. I think now you've got all this amazing stuff, right? You're doing your live in flow, like half-day retreats, so we'll call it for that, for your events that move all around the countryside. You're doing your retreats now. I think you've been to Portugal, you've been going to Bali, you've been over to Europe, you're in Australia doing a lot here,
mm,
which is huge. Like, really witnessed this incredible evolution in your journey, and then also working together um, with your like-minded legends. So, what's the vision opening up? What's the future like, even beyond what this foundation is right now?
keep growing. We like to say that we create opportunities for people to get to the heart of who they are. I think I mentioned at the beginning, and it's not something you could push somebody into, but
Yeah.
uh, witnessing, like I say, groups of people coming together that are total strangers, and within 5 days they feel like they're a family. I mean, not in like a hokey way, like in like I see you, I know you, I feel like I've known you for 20 years kind of experience, you know, or I've said things and shared things and been felt heard more than I have in the entire existence of being around my parents, you know, like or in my family. It's like, you know, that's not that you can't deny that. It's there. And so what's calling us is as technology develops, as we get more and more distracted from ourselves, from each other, is to find ways to create opportunities to create centers where this type of connection to self, connection to each other, connection to the earth around us, as well as connection to spirit is nurtured.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't really have specifics on how that looks, but that is like the vision is like, how do we, what do we need to do? What do we need to create to allow more space, more opportunity for us to ultimately be who we truly are?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. So it's all, I mean, obviously we never know how it's going to extrapolate,
No,
you
that's
know,
right.
the foundation, you know, it takes, but the thing is, right, you start at the beginning, it takes a long time to create a foundation
Mm,
with not many results. You dig in a hole, you want to go look at a high rise going up. They spend a lot of time digging a
that's
hole.
right.
You
Yeah, yeah,
can't see
yeah.
anything. You're getting rid of shit more than you're actually building anything. And then you're in the well in the building stage, and you know, I can't wait to see how it extrapolates out into the world,
Yeah.
and you know the impact that keeps having on people. So yeah, man, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, you
It's
too,
amazing.
mate. Like, awesome to see you launching this podcast, getting it out there. And yeah,
Yeah,
you're
man.
always evolving, reinventing, and yeah, I can see you doing incredible work. So keep rocking it. We'll see where our paths cross. But thanks so much for having me on and everything you said. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, again, just you know, huge amount of gratitude. You know, you play a really important role in you know, Elise and I meeting
Ah,
in some ways, and you know, like you know, if she hadn't have done the work with you, you know, over the years before she came to Uluru and we met, we probably wouldn't have even have met. So you know, like, and we won't talk about the past lives and any of the other things, which are just the fascinating part of being human beings.
100%.
I appreciate you, and I'm super grateful that you made the time to come on here, and I honor you. And yeah, see you in the world soon, brother.
Yeah, mate. Hope so. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you, mate.
Take care.
You still here? You still here? Oh, you're still here. Oh, wow. Amazing. Well done. You're still here. This is our Marvel moment. If you don't know what a Marvel moment is, that's okay. That's okay too. We love you anyway. But just so you know, who's about to come on your screen is the person who's been going to be on this podcast in the next fortnight. So you can put it in your calendar. We can't give you a snippet of what they're going to say because you just have to show up. And if you're game enough to do that, you will get incredible outcomes. See you on the other side.